Hello, hello. So I pray that this message really reaches your heart and with gratitude and just the little things that we have here in life. I've been so grateful myself to just to be able to live some of my dreams and have some of the things I have, and then also I've learned to man when it's gone, and then what? Are we not going to be grateful for what we still have? I've learned to be grateful. I remember the times where I've had, you know, at one given time in my hand, I've had $90,000 cash in my hand, and then there was times where I've had negative 500 in my bank account. But I had a few coins, I had a few dollars, I had enough to get me something to eat, and I just learned to be so grateful you know, in the times where I didn't have much because I knew that it could be worse. One thing I knew that it could be worse. I could have zero. So I've learned to be grateful, and I've learned to have a grateful heart, no matter what I have in my bank account, no matter what I have in my pocket, no matter what I have in my refrigerator, because I know that God provides. So I want to read out of the message of Matthew 14. And when I'm going to start with verse 8, but take a look at verse 13 for yourself. And it just talks about when the large crowd got there, the disciples wanted to turn the crowd away. And Jesus says, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. And one of the disciples said, we only have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And so it's so powerful because sometimes we look at physically what we have and we don't think we can make it work. It's only in prayer and giving thanks that we understand that God is a provider. He's always provided for me. I can tell you I've never not gone without what I needed. I can give you stories, countless stories, where I needed an extra $200 to pay an important bill, but because I knew God was a provider and I made sure I did what I needed to do, I shook a few trees and I tried to make some moves, try to get a little bit of overtime in, try to do extra work to where God just blessed me with $500. There's been times where God has blessed me with $1,000, 200 here, 100 there. When at the last minute, to be honest with you, when the bills were due, when I didn't know what to do, and I remember being after my divorce, being homeless and sleeping in a car. I had a job, but I wasn't gonna go out and spend a whole lot of money eating out. So I dollar store was my best friend, and God provided with me the means of being able to nourish my body. So I was faithful with the little as well. So we go to Matthew 18, and Jesus Christ says, "Bring them to me." He directed the people to sit down on the grass, taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish. Looking up to heaven, Jesus Christ gave thanks and broke the loaves. You know, we have to give thanks in all we do. First of all, when you sit down at that dinner table, when you're taking that bite to eat for Thanksgiving, please give thanks, because there's some people that don't have the full course meal as we do. Some people are going to starve for Thanksgiving. Some people won't have what we have. So that's why we have to have a heart of gratitude. Jesus gave thanks for the little things they had, because they could have had nothing. And in Luke 16 verse 10, one who's faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. And one who is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much. And that's so powerful to me. That's why we have to be faithful when we have abundance of stuff, and that's why we have to make sure we share what we have with others. I love seeing the stories where people go feed the homeless. I love the fact that even people on my timeline, they take bag lunches and stuff like that to the homeless on Thanksgiving Day. That's a wonderful thing, and though they may not look at it, as a godly providing thing, but God is providing stuff through people. He always does. Even when you look at the when they would harvest, the farmers would harvest, and the people would go behind the farmers to pick up the rest of the wheat. God made a provision to where you can only go down and take as much wheat as you could. You couldn't go back for what dropped because God made sure that those that were in need would get the rest of it. They would get the corners, they would get the sides of it. You couldn't go down. Whatever your machine picked up was what it picked up. So God he always provided. And those people at that time were very grateful for what they had. And they didn't have the book of the Bible as we do with all the wonderful things that God has done. But they were still grateful. We need to be grateful each day we wake up. God decides to wake us up and for his purpose and his will. We don't wake up just to be idle human beings. We wake up for his purpose and will to do something good for others. So this Thanksgiving, do something good for others. Then the disciples in verse 18 continues. Then he gave the broken pieces of loaf and fish. He gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people, and all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up the 12 baskets full of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, not to mention the thousands of women and children. So because Jesus Christ's relationship with God was so important, God provided for him and his people. And we need to understand that with ourselves, is that if we're going to be true followers of Jesus Christ, if we're going to truly be Christian men and women, we can't look in the refrigerator and then get depressed and anxious. What we should be doing is getting on our knees and thanking God for at least having a roof over our head, at least having our sons and our daughters alive and healthy, and watch somebody come knocking on the door with a meal, or watch something mysteriously goes into your bank account. There was times where I had zero in my bank account. And I forgot some investments that I made, and money was deposited. There was money that was owed to me by old IRA or something like that, and God provided for me in my time of need. He didn't give me that money when I had plenty. He waited until where I didn't have any to give me what I needed. And so please be thankful on this Thanksgiving weekend, this Thanksgiving week. I have a lot to be thankful about, and one thing I'm thankful about is I'm here to be able to praise him and share my story with you guys of how faith got me through little to where God is providing a lot for me now, and I'm very grateful for it. And I will be grateful for a little again, because I know at the end of the day, God will never leave me or forsake me. You guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Take it easy.